Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I thought today I might take some time to go over things you want to make sure you do to prepare for a group trip. Actually, when you watch this, Lacey and I will be on our 4th trip with a group called Gate1. Now, we've really enjoyed group travel, and while I was originally skeptical of group travel, I've come to really like it for the sole reason that I don't have to plan a lot. I do a lot of planning in my day job. Lacey's got a very busy day job, and so the idea of just showing up and being able to take a vacation was very attractive to us. And Gate1 has been a fantastic organization to go with. As I said, this will be our 4th trip, and we'll be going through Central Europe. But I wanted to share 10 tips to make sure that you have a great group trip wherever you might go. Number 10, prepare for communication abroad. We're very fortunate today that cell phones will pretty much work anywhere today. You can connect them to Wi-Fi, and as long as you're safe, you can always get a text message out that way. But it is a good idea to reach out to your carrier to see what options they have for international travel. And you'll also want to make sure that people know where you're going. Maybe to watch your house, maybe to stay in touch, just to make sure you're safe. Make sure before you go, you can get a hold of people and they know where you are. Tip 9 on a group trip, we're very fortunate that we all have computers in our pocket these days. And before you go, it's a great idea to look at travel apps and what you might need. Google Translate, for example, allows you to hold your phone over a language you may not understand, and it translates right on the screen. So this is very beneficial for traveling around a city or while you're at a restaurant, being able to read the menu. There are also apps for train tickets, for navigating around a city, for Uber or an Uber alternative. It's a really good idea before you go to load up your phone with the apps that are going to be the most helpful for you. Tip number 8 before you go on that trip, organize your finances. Now, of course, the budget's important, and hopefully you've done the research and you know what is included and excluded from your group trip. But you also want to reach out to your bank and your credit card holders and make sure they know you're going to be traveling so that you don't end up overseas with your card shut off. This has happened to me a few different times in my life, and it can be very aggravating. And because of the time zone differences, it can be difficult if you bank with a regional bank like I do to reach customer service. So make sure you notify those financial institutions before you go. Tip number 7 is from the airport to wherever the group travel starts and stops. Now, Gate1 will traditionally have a way for you to get from your hotel to the airport, but we tend to add an extra day or two onto either side of the trip. And so understanding, does this location have Uber? Is it faster to take the train from the airport to the center of the city? If the area doesn't have Uber, which taxis are safe to take versus not safe to take? You really have to do the research to understand what are your transportation options outside of the group bus or the group travel. Tip 6 has to do with health and safety. Now, before you go, you definitely want to do some research on how safe the area you're going to is. You're going to be with a group of people, you should be perfectly safe. And if you're going with the right company, they've hired local guides, not only to show you around and show you the amazing location, but to also keep you out of trouble. But you should have an idea of safe and non-safe areas for wherever you're headed. I'll also add to this category to make sure you're bringing any medications that you need, and not just prescription medications. When we were in Ireland last year, I could not for the life of me find Lactaid. I'm lactose intolerant, and there was a lot of cheese in the food there, so that made for a very challenging time for me. I was able to find an alternative to the brand that I typically use, but it didn't work quite as well, and it wasn't very easy to find. So make sure you're bringing Lactaid, Rolaids, whatever you're used to taking and you know works for you, bring it on the trip with you. Tip 5 is just prepare for group travel. So when you travel by yourself, you can go off on a whim, you can do whatever you want. Maybe you get somewhere late, 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe you show up a little bit early. When you're with a group of people, you have to take into consideration that if you're the last one back to the bus, you're holding everybody up. And one of the best parts about group travel is actually meeting the people. We've made some great friends on these trips. And if you're an introvert, you should prepare yourself at least for a few group meals, whether that be breakfasts or dinners or whatever your particular tour allows for. Just be ready for it. Tip 4 is to review your itinerary. Now, as I said in the beginning, one of the great things about group travel is that you don't have to plan much. You just got to get yourself there and you can just go with the flow and do what the group does. But you're going to have downtime. You're going to have free time in these cities. And so what you want to do is look at the itinerary and figure out, okay, where's the tour taking me? And where do I want to go on my own? What evenings are dinner provided? And what dinners are we free for? And in some cases, you're going to want to make reservations. When we were in Lucerne 2 years ago, we showed up and we could not get into a single restaurant in town for the night that was free dinner. So we weren't with the group, we were on our own. We walked around, I think, for a couple hours before we found this little bar up on the hill that would actually take us. We were very fortunate to actually get in there even. I think they took a little bit of pity on us. So make sure you look at that itinerary. The other thing is if you're showing up a day early, like we are for this next trip, you don't want to do things that you're going to do with the group the following day. So look at that itinerary, know it, and then plan accordingly. Tip 3, pack smart. What's the weather gonna be? Where are you going? Should you bring a rain jacket? Do you need a hat and gloves? You should have an idea of all of this. Now, you don't want to overpack, but you do want to be ready for almost anything that can come up. When we were in Banff, for example, it rained the entire time. And there were people that sat on the bus and didn't do the short hikes because they didn't want to get wet, versus we knew it was going to be wet. You're going to Banff, bring a rain jacket, bring a rain hat, and get out and enjoy your time. Also on these group trips, remember, well, you want to look good. Comfort is key. You're going to be potentially doing a lot of walking on certain days, and you want to make sure you have very comfortable shoes. And number 2, this is an important one. Make sure you understand the passport and visa requirements for the areas you're headed to. Most of these group trips do not include your visas, and so you're booking months in advance. Do the research to understand, okay, does a US citizen need a visa to visit Budapest, for example, Hungary, where we're going in a couple weeks? If you have any doubt, a good group organizer will be able to tell you, yes, you need a visa to get into Israel, or yes, as an American citizen, you need a visa to get into Jordan. They will know these things, but you want to do this research in advance. In some cases, you're actually going to have to mail your passport to an embassy for that country, or make a trip to wherever that embassy is. We're in Maine, so there are no embassies for a lot of countries here. Closest embassies are either New York City or Washington, D.C. So in our case, we mail them in, we get them back, and we're good to go. And my number 1 tip before going on any group trip is to know your destination. Have an idea of the people, the food, the local customs, the culture. All of this will help you, I don't want to say blend in, but it'll give you a deeper appreciation of the area that you're in, and it will allow you to engage with locals in a meaningful way and be better accepted as a tourist. All right, well, those are my 10 tips on how best to prepare for a group trip. What did I miss? Post it below. And if you want to see one of our favorite group trips, you can click here. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.